to me, was the easiest pick of the week. Texas Tech and Duke, it's obviously the 2-3 game. Texas Tech is the lower seed. They are favored, line moving in their direction. Duke getting more of the handle. I mean, what other red flags do I have to throw at you to try to tell you not to bet Duke this week? Servo, all three of us are on Texas Tech. We're all playing it basically the same way, money line -1. I don't really think it matters. Tell me why Coach K's reign ends this week.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys are both on the same page as me here. So the first thing that I look at with Duke is that their defense has struggled. I mean, the Michigan State was lighting it up against them last game. It almost cost them, the win there. They were down 5 with like 5 minutes left. They were trailing with 2 or 3 minutes left before they went on a late run to stretch that lead out. But the big thing also for them is AJ Griffin ankle injury last game suffered, but I think if he's out, that's a really big deal. They're going to struggle to find enough offense, enough athleticism. The biggest thing, and I'm sure you guys agree, though, is Texas Tech's elite defense just going to be causing a ton of problems here against just the inexperience and the lack of true ball handlers, I think, for Duke. They got a lot of NBA talent, but Banchero can turn it over, AJ Griffin as well, but like Jeremy Roach is kind of the only true point guard ball handler that they have. But if he's not being one of the best players on the floor, then I could just see this lead stretching out for Texas Tech, and their defense is good enough to kind of keep leads late, unlike Michigan State did in that last game. The other thing with Duke is that they just haven't played many grinded out, lower scoring games this year. In the ACC, just not a ton of defense being played, but they have struggled in a couple of those. They lost to Ohio State and Virginia earlier this year when it was like a lower scoring game. So it's just not their style. They prefer to play in those higher scoring games like they just did against Michigan State. But Texas Tech their defense is going to force a ton of turnovers here. I think it's just going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, since the start of March, Duke's played 7 games. If you filter Bart Torvik for those 7 games since the start of March, or go by the date filter, Duke's defense is 191st. That's terrible. They've gotten roasted by some bad offenses, and Syracuse put up a ton of points without Buddy Boeheim. So I think it's even worse than the context is telling you there.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare. So Texas Tech's offense is not very good either. So it's kind of like the movable object against the stoppable force. But I think like you're saying, Dan, the overriding top performing side of the ball is Texas Tech's defense. My favorite stat, I cite this on basically every show I go on, is they've played 24 unique opponents this year. 17 of them have had their season low in points.
Wow.
Like no one scores in the paint against them. They take away driving gaps. You can't post up. You have to score over the top. You have to manufacture tough jumpers. And Duke has some of that ability, but if Griffin is struggling with the ankle, he's by far their best shooter. If that's an issue for him, and then if Banchero or Keels or Roach are cold, then man, I don't really know where Duke gets the offense from, and that's their strength. So if they're not scoring, that takes away what they're good at, and I think Texas Tech can manufacture enough points against a bad Blue Devil defense. So yeah, I'm with you guys. Texas Tech -1, money line, whatever it may be.
Yeah, 2 units for me on this one, guys. It'll be in the column that I drop on Pickswise.com either tomorrow or late tonight. I don't know. It'll be up before Thursday. I know that. I'll give you my notes here, and then we'll do some final thoughts on this region and wrap things up. But so Duke did finally cover against Michigan State, even though they were 98%. Michigan State was 98% probability to cover up 5 with 5 minutes left, and they still couldn't cover the 6.5. But last 6 games for Duke, allowing 78 points. I mean, you're not going to win a lot of tournament games if you're giving up almost 80. And here's the note that really stood out to me, and this speaks to what you were talking about, Servo. So Duke hasn't faced a top 10 adjusted defense since Gonzaga in November. Here's the adjusted defense of their last 6 opponents. Michigan State 70th, Fullerton 166th. Virginia Tech was 54th, playing their 4th game in 4 nights. Miami 123rd, Syracuse 207th, and then UNC 44th, which I think when you look at UNC top to bottom, no one would consider them a defensive team. They haven't any time recently since November faced a defense even remotely to the standard of Texas Tech, not even in the same zip code. To me, that is a massive step up in approach, scheme, talent. And I just think that's going to be too much for them to overcome. Now, Tech's offense, very high variance. The Montana State game, 97 points, 12 threes. Notre Dame, 59 points, 4 threes. Do we think it's somewhere in the middle? I think that probably gets it done somewhere around 75 points and let's say 7 or 8 threes. That probably gets them home, right? I don't think Duke gets to 70 here, right, Jim?
Yeah, if Tech hits 70, I think they win. I think
Agreed.
that's a pretty solid benchmark. I think that's kind of what the spread and the total are telling you. But yeah, I'm with you there.